Welcome to my channel. I'm Eric, and today we're going to talk about corn. Corn's not probably something that everyone trades, but the setup is definitely something to consider. So why don't you open up your matrix or follow along on mine. Corn is located on line 24. Anytime you see a color green in the matrix, it's usually a sign that you should be watching that particular market. So corn is right here, and we can see that it's in the primary trend. It's labeled 2, and it's already produced a 4% return. And in the phase column, which is important, we need to do that, is to identify the phase of the trade. It's F, which means it's a flip. And the unique part of the corn market, which I tried to convey in the written review a few days ago, actually, 9 days ago, is that 9 days ago this market had flipped in the primary trend right here, so it was 2, and the daily also aligned and flipped. That's a double flip, 2 time frames, something that only superseded by the triple flip, which you see a flip in the daily, weekly, and monthly. I've seen that once in about 10 years. The markets usually explode to the upside. A double flip, it's pretty rare. Maybe you see it once or twice a year, sometimes not. When that happens, markets tend to really plow ahead. I don't expect corn to be too much different, but let's just kind of take a look in terms of the evolution of the trade so everybody who's watching doesn't make the same mistake the next time it comes around. If you didn't buy the flip and you didn't buy the reset that happened within, or the double flip, you can wait for a reset. This is markets, it's young. I mean, there's a lot of room left to go if this thing keeps going. So, but let's just go through the standard procedure within the evolution of the trade so you guys get better at doing this. The first thing we do is, after establishing the phase, is we look at the monthly statistics. And the monthly statistics are, here's price cycle, here's time cycle, and they're both well below 0, and that tells us this trend is really young. There's other ways to show that inside the matrix. Here it's anything highlighted green tells us the primary composite trend is extremely young, but we'll talk about that in later reviews because I want to keep these things short so people don't glaze eyes on me and stop paying attention. We need to really do some quick hitting stuff that teaches this. Again, so the weekly is pretty young too, and the daily, well, these statistics are fairly young, although the daily is starting to show price cycle extension. It's not red yet, but it's close. It'll flip when it gets to 1, which means there's no way you should be chasing this anymore. You should be watching, learning, but we watch this to manage whether or not we want to take profits on something. The last thing we establish is usually energy, because energy is a part of the evolution of trade. It's ongoing, it's always there. The energy is what created the nibble in the first place, and we'll show that in a second. The energy profile of this is 60, minus 30, and minus 10s. WA is participation, and DIs are the energy build itself. The energy build is turning more negative. Minus 10 is DI2. That's the longer. It's not really super negative. It's not statistically concentrated. It's just starting to turn negative, which is, it'll be a problem in time because it'll probably generate a blocking dome, but we're going to have to wait. You're just going to let it ride. The core position's placed. So why don't we take a look at energy itself a little bit closer. And as soon as it pops up, these files are pretty big. There it is. And we can see that corn itself has got all these green cups and red hats or blocking domes. I mean, that's just the profiles of energy. Normally we look at it when everything is highlighted, but in this version, and you can get a version of the matrix where you use Excel and you can do this stuff and you can see the same things I'm seeing. The bullish energy, let's just highlight bullish energy build that created, and this was a nibble because the corn's trend had been down so long, the primary trend phase decline code was shown. It was PTD2, and a large energy build into that is a classic nibble setup. And I hope some people nibbled corn. I talked about it at the time. It was a while back now. That energy build flipped the primary trend. Here's some more energy builds right here, but they did not flip the primary trend. They only created these counter trend rallies inside these boxes, which I copied over here to take a look at. Right now, the current bounce is slightly bigger than this bounce right here. And you have to be careful because corn may not have a sustained flipped. It needs to keep going. The longer it goes, the more likely it's going to be sustained, and the more likely it's sustained, the greater the pressure to buy the next reset. But right now, we're still in the very early stages of corn, but I'm just comparing some of the ones that failed before. Now, this was a much younger primary trend decline, so they're more likely to fail. Inside of here is chop. When you get these cups, the green or the bullish energy builds here, price slams through, then it bounces, slams in, bounces again, bounces again. Energy builds have a way of slowing the move, but they're not immediate. And we can see that in the US dollar right now, but corn has its own setup that we're focusing on. So we can talk about the dollar and other things at another time. But corn is a market that we're definitely interested in. And the play should be established. You should have bought the nibble. You should have escalated more on the flip. But the daily trend's getting a little bit old, so now we're going to have to wait for a reset. And we're going to protect ourselves as the primary trend flips. You don't want to let a profitable trade turn into an unprofitable one, so you might, use risk management to get out. But that's the setup for corn. Now, as a subscriber, what we're going to be looking for is we're going to look for energy builds and blocking domes, and you can look for this. You don't need me to do it. You can say, well, okay, now it's going to be vulnerable to a curl downwards, maybe a test of the breakout point before it goes again. But you're looking for a viable reset. It will be coded R in the matrix, and I will likely talk about it at the time. Not every reset is something to be chased. But you definitely are going to be waiting for that now. And again, that's the point of having access to the matrix, is to see that. I don't talk about every market. I can talk about any markets that people recommend or say, can you take a look at that one? But there's a lot of markets to cover, and corn is one of them. Soybeans, wheat's another great market too. They're following all the same stuff. I mean, while I'm in this, we'll take a quick look at the composite grains, and you can see how these energy builds are related. And these are the three markets. They move similar. They both responded to the grains, composite grain DI's energy build, and they're moving higher. But you're going to start to notice that there's a bearish build that's starting to form. There's one, there's another one. It's slowing this thing down. And now it needs to probably down further, but ultimately this stuff's going to have to move, energy is going to have to move to this side over here before it will curl and then move again if we have continuation. So the play is patience, as always, which most people can't do because it's patience. Everybody wants to do something. You got to give that up. You wait, you collect good information, you let the computer define the cycles and establish directions, and you wait for the reset code. So that's the look of corn. If you have any comments or questions or anything, you can write to me or send me an email, or you can subscribe to the channel here and write comments below. That's a great way of doing it too. And thanks for watching, and until the next review, come back again.